This is Grace Green, who is the senior partnership specialist at Double the Donation, who's this great integration that we love working with, and um, we're just grateful that you're here to learn more about it. Without further ado, I'll just hand things off to you, Grace.
Awesome, Austin. Thank you so much. And thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. I will go ahead and share my screen so we can get started. I know Austin introduced me a little bit earlier, so thank you for that. But just for some sort of greater context about Double the Donation, if you're not familiar, Double the Donation is the leading provider of tools to nonprofits and educational institutions to help them raise more from workplace giving programs. So matching gifts, volunteer grants, sponsorships, things like that. The goal is to help you identify these opportunities, share those opportunities with your donors, and then make sure that you're actually on the receiving end of these programs like you as the nonprofit are supposed to be. So, like Austin said, I'm on our partnerships team here at Double the Donation. So that gives me the immense privilege of working with platforms like Engaging Networks to bring our integrations to you all so that you can embed Double the Donation's functionality directly into your giving forms so that you can interface with your donors and encourage them to identify their eligibility and submit those matching gifts directly in and after the donation process. So without further ado, we'll go ahead and get started talking a little bit about workplace giving in general, the why behind Double the Donation, and how you as an organization can really situate yourself to best take advantage of these programs. So the first thing we'll start with is why Double the Donation and why workplace giving solutions in the first place. Why are these valuable? Where do they come from? What do you need to know about them? So first and foremost, we'll talk really specifically about corporate matching gifts. This is really the bread and butter of what we do here at Double the Donation and a lot of what the time, effort, and development time we've put into our product and integrations ties back to. So with that in mind, corporate matching gifts are one of the most common types of workplace giving programs, and they're continuing to grow in popularity. You might already be familiar with workplace giving programs and corporate matching gifts in general, but just to ensure we're all on the same page, a corporate matching gift program is essentially one where a company matches the donations of their employees to the organizations that they donate directly to in their personal lives. So if I were to donate to my local animal shelter, and let's say I worked for the Home Depot, I would let the Home Depot know, and then they would match my gift, whether that's at a exact 1-to-1 ratio or potentially at a 2-to-1 ratio or sometimes at a 0.5-to-1 ratio. They're going to make a matching contribution to the nonprofit of my choice. So the nice things about corporate matching gift programs is there's a lot of employee flexibility and there's a lot of opportunity for employees to engage to the causes and programs that are closest to their heart, they're closest to their community. And so it's a great way for companies to engage both in the personal and professional lives of their employees. With that in mind, like I mentioned, corporate matching gifts are one of the most popular, and they actually are continuing to grow in popularity. So over 26 million individuals in the US, which is a little bit more than 10% of the US workforce, are eligible for corporate matching gift programs. And there's a ton of reasons why these programs are valuable, but some of the benefits that we've seen in recent years and sort of the reason behind the uptick and continued emphasis for companies and conglomerates to engage in these type of programs is because there's a lot of increased employee retention and satisfaction, especially as we've seen shifts in the job market over the last several years. It's really important for for-profit companies to find ways to attract and then retain employees that they hire. And we found, especially with younger generations, that being able to give and give in the ways that you want and have that supported by your company is a very strong motivating factor for employment and employee retention. Beyond that, there's also a lot of positive brand reception that comes with matching gift and workplace giving programs. You companies want you to see their name. They want you to recognize, hey, I know they're doing good in and around their community, which could be your community. And so that works really well for employees and companies alike as well. Talent acquisition, like I mentioned, and then of course, tax deductions. While these programs do a lot for the communities and the organizations in the community that they support, there's always the tax deductions that these companies are looking for so that it's a win-win-win across the board. And with that in mind, I wanted to give you sort of a look at what the landscape looks like right now for corporate matching gifts. And what you'll see on the screen here is a lot of household brand names. A lot of these are things that we recognize or interface with in our day-to-day. And so the reason that I bring them up is not necessarily because these are groundbreaking companies or they're new in the space or anything like that, but because corporate matching gifts are really pervasive across industry. A common misconception that we see at Double Donation is that workplace giving or corporate matching gifts are reserved for the exclusively philanthropic companies of the world. I know we all think of Patagonia and their jackets and the contributions that they make to their community and to climate change and things like that as a company that is definitely aligned with corporate social responsibility and giving back. But these programs really transcend industry, they transcend company size. So you've got oil and gas on here, you've got retail, you've got food and beverage. And so again, going back to some of those benefits that we talked about, companies of all sizes, of all industry are looking to take advantage of those benefits and are also looking to give back to their community. And so I really just wanted to call that out because I know sometimes it can be confusing who offers these, what types of programs are out there. There's really a lot of opportunity, and we're seeing this expand beyond just Fortune 500, Fortune 1000 companies, and into smaller and mid-sized companies as well, because it's really about finding that community connection, engaging with your employees, and being able to have a really positive brand outlook, both for the company and for the way you engage in the community. So thinking about what that means for your organization, how does this really apply to the impact that you might be looking to have? Well, like I mentioned, there's a ton of corporate matching gift programs across the Fortune 500 industry. Well over half of Fortune 500 companies offer matching gift programs, and we're actually seeing that number grow. I believe it's upwards of 90% of companies are looking to maintain or grow their corporate giving budget in the years to come. So there's a lot of opportunity out there now, and that continues to grow as companies see kind of the return and the dividends on investing in these types of programs, both for their employee retention and for the way they steward and engage in their community. And so with that, you have millions and millions of individuals who work for companies with matching gift programs. But the main reason that this can have a ton of impact for your organization beyond the obvious monetary impact of that doubled donation or that volunteer grant or whatever that looks like is because corporate matching gifts can also really fuel donor engagement. There's a lot of connection there. We see 84% of donors are more likely to donate if they know a match is offered. 71% more donors respond to fundraising appeals that mention matching, and there's a 51% increase in donation amount when mentioning matching as well. And a lot of that tracks with just sort of standard donor psychology. If I know my gift can be worth more, then I might be more inclined to donate. Also, if I know that what I wanted to give could also be increased without having to reach back into my own pocket, there's also some encouragement to donate there. And so with getting started, what does this look like? How do you take advantage of it? What can you do to actually get donors to engage with this, to understand, to kind of interface with these tools or share their matching gift program or employment details with you? There's a couple of key pieces here, one of those being marketing matching gifts on your website. And this doesn't have to be incredibly groundbreaking. It doesn't have to be a brand new campaign, though it could be if you wanted to and have kind of the time and bandwidth to get to dedicate to that. But maybe you have a ways to give page on your website, and it includes all of your standard ways to give online, by mail, over the phone, stock giving, things like that. Whatever that looks like for your organization, include corporate matching gifts in that option, in that section, and then encourage donors to either share their employer with you, look up their eligibility. There's a lot of different options there. But the idea is to encourage donors to interface with this, because the issue that we see most often at Double Donation is that donors don't know about these programs, and on the off chance that they do know, there's a little bit of red tape on what's my next step, where am I supposed to go, where do I submit this, what does that look like, do I go to HR, is this something online? And so the idea here is to cut through that red tape as much as possible, and you'll see that in our fourth suggestion here, help donors navigate next steps. You really want to take them to the furthest along through this process that you possibly can to make it simple and easy. And then, of course, position matching gifts as a way to give back, especially when you're working with donors sort of in the mid-range of giving, where you can say, hey, this gift was so impactful, and you can do just as much with it if you double that gift from your employer. So there's a lot of ways to, especially with economic uncertainty and things, as donors try to understand the best ways that they continue to give back, matching gifts have a lot of opportunity in expanding the value of a single gift when donors are feeling maybe a little stretched thin or trying to find different ways to give back in that capacity. And then, of course, kind of the key thing here is collecting that donor employment. You want to have a way for donors to share where they work, for you to kind of digest and process that information, and then use it going forward in specific outreach or follow-ups in a way to make sure that your donors know what exactly it means when they're eligible for a matching gift, and then how they can go on to help your organization receive those funds. Because the reality is, if you have someone who is already giving to your organization, whether they're a first-time donor, they're a monthly donor, whether they have been giving on and off for 10 years, whatever that looks like, if they've taken the steps to go to your website, take out their credit card, use Apple Pay, whatever that looks like for that donor, they've made a commitment to your organization. So they're bought in for your mission. They believe in what you're capable of and what you're doing in the community. And so what you want to do is say, you already believe all of this. That's great. We're not trying to get you in. You're already on the train. But did you know that you work for a company that matches gifts? So the gift that you already gave, the connection that you're already feeling, can go that much further. And so I think there's a lot of ways that you can position and use some of the existing messaging out there. We've got tons of resources on the Double Donation blog, as well as within the Double Donation dashboard, to put together marketing campaigns or graphics or videos that really communicate this idea to your donors, so that they know how to engage and what it looks like, and how their kind of additional matching gift really gives back to your organization. And so with that, I've got an extra green screen here to tell you a little bit about the Double Donation functionality and what this looks like. So Double Donation matching provides organizations with tools to identify match eligible donors, help drive those matches to completion, and then also track that data. So you can see where you're at year over year. Do you have tons of donors who work at the Home Depot? Is there something more that you could be doing there? Do you have lots of donors who have identified their employer but didn't go on to submit their matching gift? The idea is, what can you take with what you have to make sure that these opportunities are out there, they're being pursued, and your organization has the ability to really have that visibility? So, of course, there's the employer search tool, which we'll talk a little bit more about as I get into our Engaging Networks integration and how that works. But you allow donors to quickly determine their eligibility and access those next steps. There's then automated donor communication. So like I mentioned, we see one of the issues being donors don't know how to follow through. So they know they're eligible, they like these programs, but what do I do next? How do I get this submitted? So automated donor communication allows you to really set and forget your matching gift donor outreach. So whether you know where a donor works, whether you don't know where a donor works, or whether you just want to follow up on this over a couple of months, there's options out there so you can send these follow-ups and make the most of that kind of outreach following a donation. Real-time matching gift status tracking, again, track the progress of a match, see where donors are at in the process, and help you do some of your reporting as well. So you can say, hey, we know this gift is coming in from Home Depot, or hey, we know to be on the lookout because Apple should be sending us a check soon. Donation platform integrations like the one we have with Engaging Networks makes it just that much easier to actually embed these tools into your forms, into your website, and take advantage of these. And then screening and analytics to make sure that you've got the most robust options out there and can really take advantage of these programs. So now I think we've got a little bit of table setting. We understand the matching gift landscape, what this looks like, but I want to go into how you can actually put this into practice, especially as it relates to the Double Donation and Engaging Networks integration. As we've talked about, the idea here is this sort of air of mystery that surrounds matching gifts, and how can you cut through that and make sure donors know about these opportunities, can pursue them, and really grow revenue for your organization through corporate matching gift programs, which at their core, that's what they're intended to do. They want these companies invent these programs, build out these programs so that their employees can be philanthropic in their personal and professional lives. So the Double Donation and Engaging Networks integration supports streamlined employer searches, like I mentioned, to be able to connect donors directly to their matching gift next steps, that easy automated outreach that we talked about, and then real-time data and insights to track matching gift outcomes and better fine-tune your strategy. And I think that's a great way to leverage employment data, whether you're using a tool like Double Donation or not. If you can take a look at your donor segments, whether that's major donors, whether that's mid-level donors, whatever that looks like for your organization, and say, we've got 10 companies that seem to really resonate with our donors. We've got employees at 10 companies, whether they're global, they're national, whether they're in your community. There's a lot of opportunity there to dig into that further, identify partnerships, identify sponsorship opportunities, and just further engage with those donors in the first place. I think when we think about matching gifts and workplace giving programs, there's a lot of overlap and opportunity for donor stewardship in general as well. Because you as an organization can say, hey, Austin, thank you so much for your recent gift. We know that you work at the Home Depot. We were actually thinking about putting together a volunteer day opportunity for Home Depot employees. Would you like to help us facilitate that? And there's sort of an opportunity that goes beyond just that initial matching gift revenue that is obviously extremely valuable, but can grow into furthered donor stewardship opportunities and ways to connect with donors, again, on that personal and professional level. And I think that's where a lot of the matching gift and workplace giving opportunity comes from. So taking a look at this in action, I'm going to jump over to this page here. I'll do a quick refresh to make sure that I don't time out by any means. But we're on the Cat Rescue Club, which is a mock nonprofit. We are a bunch of cat lovers here at Double Donation, so I hope you all are too. But no shame in the game if you're a dog lover over a cat lover. But we're going to give to the Cat Rescue Club on this Engaging Networks forum to really show you what this integration can look like and what the opportunities are there to really value and engage with your donors as it relates to corporate matching gifts and workplace giving programs in general. So I'll make a one-time $25 gift. This is all, I'm sure, what you're very familiar with. We've got a very rudimentary Engaging Networks form here, so I'm sure you've all got the bells and whistles and customizations that allows, but I will go ahead and make my gift as Jenny Taylor, an extremely philanthropic friend of Double the Donation, who gives very generous gifts often. So as I'm moving through this process, you'll see all of the typical donation form elements, all the things that you typically include. And then at the bottom here, you'll see Double the Donation's matching gift search tool. So this is what you can add directly to your Engaging Networks form with our integration. And this is an autocomplete search tool designed to help donors search for their employer directly as they're giving, while still minimizing abandonment and making sure that donors actually go on to click that process donation button here. So a couple of things to keep in mind when it comes to actually having donors fill this out. You'll see some contextualizing language here. So many companies sponsor matching gift programs that increase the impact of your gift. See if your company will match your donation, search your employer's name. So again, there's just a little bit of table setting here to let donors know what they're searching for. You can see the included field text to search for company. And then as I start typing, this will actually autocomplete and auto-populate with entries from Double Donations database. So we've got over 24,000 companies in Double Donations database that account for things like parent companies, subsidiaries, different options like that. So you know that no matter what a donor is searching for, they get connected to their best next steps with their employee selection. So in this case, I'm typing in the Home Depot, but even if I misspell home, I'll still see Home Depot populate there. Because again, the goal here is to get donors through this process as quickly as possible and minimizing abandonment. Even if I select Hulu, that's actually managed by the Walt Disney Corporation. So I'll be connected to Disney instead in that sense. There's also a couple of key things here like retired or stay-at-home parent for options that allow donors to, again, engage in the way that makes the most sense for them. And so they can quickly move through this process and get to the next steps. So in this case, I'll use the Home Depot. You all may have noticed we use the Home Depot a lot. It's an Atlanta-based company, as are we. And so I find myself always leaning back on the Home Depot and Arthur Blank. So that is an easy one there. And then once I click to process my donation, what you'll see is the Double Donation search tool populating there with my selection. And so you'll see the Home Depot and the option to actually go to my matching gift form. So I can kick off my outreach here. And then once this donation is made, it actually passes directly into my Double Donation dashboard. And so this is a dashboard that each organization has access to if they're using the Double Donation and Engaging Networks integration. You'll see there's my gift. I've selected the Home Depot, and you can even see a couple of pieces about my gift there for you as an organization to engage with and understand where I'm at in the process. So in this case, I haven't taken any next steps. I didn't click into that plugin at all, but I'm able to see, yes, I selected the Home Depot, and yes, I'm going to receive an email that looks something like this. So I know we talked about that automated outreach, those campaigns that you can set and forget to inquire with donors. And so here's an example. Dear Jenny, we're excited to let you know that your donation from April 23rd is eligible for a matching gift from the Home Depot. These emails are totally customizable by your organization, so you'll have your logo, your banner. You can even have them coming from your domain so that it doesn't come from a matching gifts at Double the Donation, but can come from the Cat Rescue Club. So again, it really resonates with your donors. They feel connected and it makes sense to them from the gift that they just gave. You can set the sending limits of when you'd like to send these emails as well. We typically recommend sending emails in those first 24 hours because that's when it's going to resonate most with the donor. But one thing that you might not consider is that more often than not, your organization is also sending a receipt email. And so we don't want this email to be caught up with a receipt or disregarded because they think there's no next steps. So sometimes we see that sweet spot to be roughly 30 minutes to an hour or two after the donation. And then you can even set some subsequent follow-up emails depending on where a donor is at in the process. In some cases, you'll see if a donor opens that email, we'll stop sending any follow-up emails because we know they've taken those next steps, similar to some of the segmenting you all probably are very familiar with and used to. But the idea here is really just to give you as much information into this process as possible, including some reporting options like leading companies. Again, I mentioned that sometimes you can build partnerships or opportunities out of these. And so looking at your most selected companies can be really helpful. Like I mentioned, we are very loyal to the Home Depot here in Atlanta. And so we've got 396 donations that have selected the Home Depot as their employer. And so there's a lot of opportunity there to take that much further. Similarly, you've got eligible but not submitted. And so these are gifts that Double Donation has identified as eligible, but as far as we know, have no donor action taken from them. And so these are great ways to send follow-up messages or to inquire again with these donors, or especially if you have large donation amounts that you want to follow up with directly, you make a phone call or send a letter in the mail, something like that. But again, just to give you a little bit more visibility into the process, And then, of course, just some overall statistics. I know we talked about making sure that you can have those reporting, have that analytics to be able to say, hey, how's this really working? What does this look like for me in my overarching workplace giving strategy? So you can see your open rate, your click rate, the amount of emails you've sent, and even just the number of match identified dollars in a single month. And so there's a lot of opportunities there as well. I saw we've got a question in the chat, so I'll go ahead and mention this as well. Does Double Donation provide marketing materials to do the other outreach? So not just the general integration emails, but to the general donor community. And yes, if you'll see on this right-hand side, we've got resources. We've got our Matching Gift Academy, which is a free resource for all Double Donation clients to learn more about the Matching Gift program and how you can leverage it. But we've also got these marketing assets that you can come in and view templates. We've got lots of templates for those email headers that you saw. We've got Facebook templates. We've got, I believe, some Meta Instagram templates in here as well. And some of them are specific to holiday season. So if you're thinking about the end of year giving season, the holiday giving season, there's actually a lot of overlap with matching gifts and the holidays as it is, because more often than not, matching gift programs do have some kind of expiration date associated with them. So there's a very good chance that a gift that you made in January of 2025 is still eligible to be matched in December 2025, but that's sort of the cutoff. We see most matching gift program deadlines timed around the end of the calendar year. And so what they're looking at is that December 31st cutoff date. And that's a great way to say, hey, don't forget, we have these matching programs, you might be eligible. So there's a lot of holiday season opportunities and imagery as there as well, because you can always do some matching gift present box imagery, and that always does really well at the holiday season. But yes, so we've got these templates. If you'll click into one of these buttons, it actually opens up into Canva and allows you to take advantage of that. I'm a big proponent of Canva, especially if you're using a Canva for Nonprofits free account. It's a lot of customizations in there, and you can upload your brand colors to make it really easy. But I could just keep scrolling for a while. We've got lots of templates here, as well as personalized videos and a couple of downloadable resources as well for making sure you can market these as much as possible and take advantage of these resources and matching gift programs. And so this kind of overview is what we're looking at with Double Donation, but what you'll see is these gifts flow directly in. They provide a lot of information about what this process looks like and how you can take advantage of them. And all of these buttons in these emails are being tracked as well. So if I click in to start the matching gift process, I would get to my Home Depot login. I can't go any further than this because as much as I reference the Home Depot, I'm still not actually a Home Depot employee, but they would log in and be able to finish their matching gift from here. And so again, the idea is really just to cut through that red tape, make sure that donors are able to move through this process and provide information and insights back to your organization. So if I come back here and then I refresh, you'll actually see that my status changed from waiting for donor to match initiated. And so that shows that I actually clicked into that email. I clicked that click here button and I was able to move through that process and kick it off. And then we also have the option for donors to let you know that they've submitted their matching gift request. There's also options for them to let you know if their donation is not eligible for whatever reason. Maybe they've hit their match cap, for the year. And they can also see some of the common guidelines related to their employee program in these emails as well. So they can see their minimum matched amount, their maximum matched amount, as well as what type of organizations that their company typically matches to, and then another link to the form if needed, as well as their submission deadline. So again, idea here is just to have as much wealth of information as possible when it relates to matching gifts and be able to have that embedded directly into your giving process so that donors don't have to leave their gift or move on without completing the gift to get their matching gift request submitted, but they can do that all sort of within this confine of your donation form and your website that they're already probably familiar with. One thing that I'll show you, and I know I mentioned this at the beginning, is the concept of a dedicated matching gift page. And this is exactly what that looks like. And so having a way or a place for donors to come back to, that's essentially just a trusted source of information. And so you can see some contextualizing language here again. Did you know that thousands of companies match donations to employees to our organization? Last year, these matching gift programs helped us raise X amount of dollars. But then you have that same opportunity for donors to come in here and select their program. Again, see those details and come back to this at any given time. You can even see corporate volunteering opportunities, corporate sponsorship programs, sort of a wealth of workplace giving information all contained in here. And in some cases, you might have someone who works for a local high school. So they might not have an opportunity to match their employee or match their donation through their employer, excuse me. And so we've also got a couple of sort of calls to action contained in your dedicated matching gift page plugin so that you can make the most of these interactions with your donors as well. So no search results found. Could your spouse be eligible for matching? We've seen more and more programs allow donations by spouses to be eligible for these programs as well. So it might encourage you to check your spouse's company. Do you know your company has a program and Double Donation just doesn't have it? You can let us know about the program and we can get that added. In some cases, you might have a company or a unique relationship where that company is only matching to your organization. That's actually something that you can list in your specific Double Donation database. And so while we've got sort of our aggregate list of all of the companies that have matching gift programs, you can also add specific one-off programs so that if you have a small business or even a larger business in your community that is looking to make a direct impact just for your organization, you can actually include that and allow local employees to search and find their employee there. So a lot of opportunity. And again, idea here is just to make this process as easy as possible and as seamless as possible for donors so that they can actually take advantage of these programs. So I will go ahead and jump back over to my slide deck and we can wrap up here with some questions. I know we had a couple of questions in the chat, so I want to make sure I got those answered. But if you have any other questions, feel free to send those in and we can talk through those as well.
Yeah, this is great. Thank you so much, Grace. And I have to say, big Home Depot fan myself, but I really hope we don't have any Lowe's or B&Q loyalists here on the call. I'm sorry if we do. We can address that later, but this was super helpful. You've gone over so much. We do have some questions. One that came up earlier, and I think is a really interesting one, is and it was kind of addressed by Peter as well on your end, but just to kind of maybe expand on it a little, is what are some of the strategies and messaging that you see that helps kind of boost donors using corporate matching gifts, the widget maybe on their forms, or just in general using that as a strategy? Just knowing that sometimes folks are not seeing as much of an uptick on that being used. I know you guys have all those Canva and kind of templates and things like that as well, but what are some of those challenges that you, and kind of however you helping people get past those? Kind of a big question, but anything you can kind of add on that?
Yes, and it's a good question. I think the first kind of piece that I'll answer here is some of that contextualizing language. I think that can be really helpful in making sure donors understand sort of the prompt there. I think a lot of times, especially in this sort of day and age where we experience so much data, both personal and just kind of out there on social media, where it's, why are you asking for this? What do you need to know? I know we're all always accepting cookies on every page that we go to. And so I think there's sort of a holdover from that is, what are you asking for this for? Why are you doing this? And with that, some of that contextualizing language, I think, can be really helpful in explaining why and how this can impact your organization. So that would be sort of my first recommendation, is including that in sort of your giving page, but also beyond just the donation form. If you're not looking to make edits there, or you're content with the sizing or the formatting or something like that, and you're not looking to make any edits there, I think another way to do that is just making workplace giving and corporate matching gifts a more regular concept at your organization. Like we've mentioned, there are a lot of questions and mystery surrounding these programs in general. And so what we've seen work really well is getting through donors that first couple of times. Usually it only takes 1 or 2 times for a donor to realize, oh wait, I can do this every single time I submit a gift, and figuring out that cadence. And so bringing that more regularly into your kind of communications, something that I'll recommend looking ahead to next year, because we've already passed February for this year. But February is actually matching gift month. And so there's a lot of great imagery. I think we might have some Canva templates for that as well, of the sort of Valentine's Day theme, and presents and matching gifts and couples and bringing things together. And so bringing that more regularly into your cadence so that donors more often think, oh, is this program relevant to me? Do I have an opportunity here? Because I think more often than not, people are quick to dismiss, oh, I don't think this applies to me, or I don't know if my company has these programs. And what we've seen is a lot of people who think that actually do have programs. So I think my couple of recommendations there would be to, again, add some contextualizing language, make sure donors understand how it might relate to them, and then also just incorporating workplace giving more regularly into your communications so that it doesn't kind of feel like it's out of the blue, or it doesn't feel like it's a one-off issue. It's just one of the myriad ways to support your organization and for donors to give back there.
There's some great insights, and yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. Would you agree that the holidays too, huge time outside of February being matching gift month, right? To kind of optimize that messaging potentially. So, okay, that's
Absolutely.
great. Yeah. Someone's asking, is there a time frame a donor has to submit a matching gift to their employer?
So there is typically a time frame. One of the hard things about matching gifts in general is that every company does things a little bit differently. And so that's why a resource like Double Donations database can be really helpful, because we sort of collect and keep up with all of that information. But like you mentioned, Austin, with the holidays, a lot of times these programs have a deadline of around December 31st. Sometimes there's a grace period, so you're looking at maybe the end of January. Sometimes they're timed around tax season, so you might have up until April of the following year to submit your matching gift. But typically, there are options there where you can have usually a calendar year to submit your matching gift. And that's, I think, a great point, kind of going back to the previous question of how can you increase use and how can you see this more often. Something that we often encourage at Double Donation is like an end of year follow-up. And so you saw some of those reporting lists and some of those options to see the type of gift that may be eligible but hasn't been submitted yet. And so it would be a great opportunity to send a follow-up to people who gave from, let's say, January to October, and say, hey, you gave this year, we think your gift is or your donation is matching gift eligible. You can still submit this, there's still time. And I think this is also a really good opportunity when we start thinking about how people can be sometimes inundated with donation asks towards the end of the year. How can you differentiate between like Giving Tuesday and your end of year appeal? Sort of what does that look like? And matching gift outreach is a great sort of sweet spot to say, hey, we know you just gave, we think this might be an opportunity to expand the impact of your gift, or we know you gave 6 months ago, would you like to expand that opportunity without reaching back into your own wallet? So I think you can get creative there with sort of your messaging and opportunities in that sense.
Great insights there. One question that came up that I'm going to pair with another one that I just have personally is how often does Double Donation update the database for matching gift listings? And I would add, I know that companies are changing their matching gift policies at different times and stuff like that. So how are you keeping things accurate and that list kind of front and center and ready to use?
Good question. So we've got a couple of different sources that we're using to kind of keep track of our database. Some of these are direct relationships with companies where they're sharing their information with us. Some of them are with partnerships with CSR vendors or the actual platforms that are facilitating these programs. Some of these are with nonprofits themselves who share, hey, we saw that Google updated this. Can you make that change? But we've got sort of a dedicated database team of researchers and updaters who keep track of changes that might be implemented and make sure that those updates are made. And so it's sort of an aggregate source of a couple of different places. And then some of these program details are listed publicly on their websites or through their HR department, and it's just a matter of finding those. But it can be really hard to find those if you don't know where to look. And so we've gotten pretty good at identifying those opportunities and finding where to make those updates, and when companies make changes or when they implemented a program and then maxed it out for the year. So maybe their program closes in October because they hit their maximum matching gift dollars or something like that. But we've got a team working pretty much day in, day out to make sure that information is as up to date as possible.
Amazing. That's great. So you're in good hands if you're using Double Donation there. Obviously, that's the whole crux of the product too, is in terms of keeping that list, working. But it's a great question for those that asked that. And I have another one here that's asked, you mentioning the workplace giving solution in some of your remarks, but this person's saying they didn't see that highlighted. Can you expand on what Double the Donation offers specifically for workplace giving?
Yes, so we've got a couple of different options. Most recently, we've put a lot of effort and dead time into our volunteer offering. So the idea of volunteer time off or volunteer grants that companies offer. And so you'll see some of those offerings listed in our database as well. And even with that quick example that we saw where it just says corporate volunteerism opportunities available. And so really we're focusing on expanding what's in the database and what's possible to have these type of programs out there. With our volunteering, we're getting more and more functionality available that looks very similar to what we have on the matching side of things, but there's a lot more to come as well there with just volunteerism, sponsorships, and kind gifts, and what that can look like in the future.
Amazing. And if you have any specific asks anyone attending here about certain aspects of the product, I'm sure Grace and her team would be, happy to kind of go over that at a greater depth as well. So feel free to reach out. I know your information's there, Grace, but thank you. That's great. Another question here is just what are some of the biggest trends that you're seeing in matching gift giving? Kind of like something maybe folks, I'll kind of position the question in this way. Folks probably have a strategy for this year set up already. So what are some like quick wins they can maybe fit in for this year, but maybe what's something they should be thinking about for planning this into the, future campaigns and the next year's planning? What are some of those trends, some of those things that you're seeing at this point?
I think what we've seen a lot is just overall program expansion in the past couple of years. And so this idea that programs that had previously been sunsetted or previously been downsized are sort of revamping and re-upping potentially their corporate maximum. And so there's, I think, more opportunity there. And so what I would sort of recommend trend-wise is pinning down how corporate matching gifts can fit into your overarching fundraising strategy and what that could look like. So maybe that's hosting an internal team meeting just for your organization to say, this is what this is going to look like. We want to get the buy-in here, and we want to make sure that this is something that we can take advantage of. Maybe it's something like having a dedicated campaign going into the holidays or going into matching gift month where you have social posts or a newsletter outreach or kind of a prompt there to encourage donors to check their eligibility. And then the last piece I would mention is just thinking about the way that we're looking to engage with companies in general is identifying where there might be that overlap and saying, hey, we have a lot of opportunity here, so we want to consider a corporate sponsorship. We want to take this a little bit larger. Or we've even seen programs kind of grow their requirements or their parameters for a specific organization. So going back to the Home Depot example, let's say you identify that you've got 15 or 20 employees that work at the Home Depot that are giving regularly to your organization. And maybe you're not looking to do a volunteer day in the near future, or you're not looking to have some kind of event that needs a corporate sponsor, but maybe you say, hey, Home Depot, you've got a lot of employees that are invested in what we do. What can we do with this? And so instead of Home Depot matching gifts to your company or to your organization at a 1-to-1 ratio, maybe for that holiday season, the Home Depot matches gifts to your specific organization at a 2-to-1 ratio. So if I gave $100, Home Depot gives 200. And that sort of is a way to grow that commitment and grow that connection without having to come up with new programming or come up with a new way for a company to get involved. And so I think looking at trends and looking ahead, my recommendation would be to consider how this ties in directly to your organization and what kind of opportunities or connections you're trying to identify, and then go from there to fit it into your existing fundraising kind of mechanisms and strategies.
There's some great points. I love that. I love the idea of reaching out directly and kind of looking at your list, seeing what's on there, what information you already have. I think that makes a lot of sense. Well, this has just been so informative. You've gone over so much. I know there's probably more questions out there, but at this point, I think we can wrap up and know that you can reach out to Grace directly. You can reach out to us, and we'll make sure that the team over there gets the question, or if it's something we can answer internally, obviously we'll do that as well. If it's like about the integration itself, we'd be happy to address that. But yeah, thank you so much, Grace, and thanks, Peter, for being in the chat there, and Marcy as well. And know that we did record this, so feel free to share it with any colleagues as you get that link when we send it tomorrow. And yeah, just want to thank you again, Grace, for being here. And well, I guess we'll probably see each other at Home Depot at some point, I'm sure. Yeah.
Absolutely. Thanks, Austin. And thanks everyone for joining.